Hey everyone, my name is David Montgomery. I am going to be leading the discussion on extracurricular activities today and how those will influence our students and influence the culture that they are in. Before I start that, I just wanted to introduce myself since sadly I don't get to be with you guys. I haven't been on campus in a couple years since me and my wife moved up to Colorado, and now we're in Houston. So sorry if that didn't make sense after you read my bio there. But like I said, my wife, her name is Madison Montgomery. And we got married about 2.5 years ago. We have a little girl on her way coming March 2021. So we are super excited about that. That doesn't really have anything to do with what we're talking about today, but every chance I get, I'd love to talk about her on the way. I'm an MDiv student. Crossing my fingers, I'm going to be graduating come May. So I'm pretty excited about that. We're excited to just for that blessing. And then right now, I'm currently serving as the junior high pastor at Second Baptist Church in Houston, Texas, at our North Campus in Kingwood. So that is just a little bit about me. How our presentation is going to go today is I'm going to show a couple videos, and we're going to talk about the positives of extracurricular activities, and we're going to talk about the negatives of extracurricular activities. I know in this class we've been talking about a lot of crises in the first half of the semester, and so my first thought is when I see these things is to think, these topics is to think, oh, these are negatives. And what we see is that there's plenty of positives that come with extracurricular activities, and it's just important that we maintain the balance and we shift toward the positives of those, and we allow to be on guard against the negatives. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen for that, and I'm going to show us the first video for us to watch.
At this point, I'm sure you know what extracurricular activities are. They're the things that you do outside of the class, the things that you choose to do because they're fun or there's something you're interested in. But did you know that extracurricular activities are also incredibly important when it comes to college prep? I'm going to explain why in this video. But first, let's take a look at the different kinds of extracurriculars that are out there. There are school activities like sports, special interest clubs, school newspaper, music groups, and student government. There are community activities like community theater, music, and art groups, as well as local clubs and sports teams. There are also a number of work-related activities like internships, summer jobs, part-time work, and even babysitting. And then there's a world of volunteering. This might mean tutoring elementary school kids, helping out at the animal shelter, or raising funds for a charity. Okay, so those are the 4 different types of extracurriculars. But why are they so important in terms of college prep? The answer is simple. They help you stand out from the crowd. That's because the things you do in your free time reveal a lot about you in ways that grades and test scores just can't. Your accomplishments outside the classroom show what you're passionate about and that you have qualities valued by colleges. Here are a few examples. Serving in student government shows that you've got leadership skills. Being on the track team throughout high school shows that you're able to make a long-term commitment. Doing volunteer work at a hospital shows that you're dedicated to helping others. Working a part-time job while keeping your grades up shows that you're responsible and can manage your time. There are no specific extracurricular activities that will magically unlock the Ivy League gates or guarantee admission to a particular university. Competitive colleges and universities get tons of applications from students that are strong academically, but what they really want are students who can contribute to the campus community. And that is best demonstrated by the extracurriculars that they took in high school. So these activities give you a chance to show you're a complete individual with interests beyond just grades and test scores. What you choose to do with your free time speaks volumes about what you value in life. And that's why they're so important in terms of college admissions, and why you need to start thinking about them now in 9th grade. In the next video, I'm going to tell you.
Perfect. And so what we saw there is he mentioned some of the positives that can come out of us, out of extracurricular activities and what those would look like. I actually have a few that I would like to touch on just based on, there you go. some of the positives. The first one is that it teaches social skills. You know, we see students in today's day and age, they're glued to their phones. You know, they can't have a conversation with adults, let alone each other, without it being about Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it is. But it teaches them to work on a team. What I immediately think of sports, because that was what my extracurriculars were. But it teaches them what it means to be part of a band, and it teaches them what it means to be a part of a club, or to volunteer, or whatever it is. It gives them social skills, which is extremely important, especially in today's day and age. The second point is discipline. It oftentimes discipline is thought of as this horrible word, but I learned a lot of valuable lessons on the basketball court as a high school student. Learning that there was real consequences for my actions. When I did something wrong, my coach expected me not to do it wrong again. If there was consequences. And that was something that I learned. The third thing I have here is goals. It teaches students to set goals, how to set goals, whether they should set manageable goals or huge, lofty goals, or both. And they get to see the benefits when they actually reach those goals. And so goal setting, achieving goals, things like that, these are all positive things. The last thing I have here on my PowerPoint is college degrees. And this is extremely practical, but it helps them plan for their future. It sets them up, puts them in a position where they can be successful for their future education, for their life, for their family, all these things. And lastly, it's an opportunity for them to showcase what God has given them the one, ability for, and two, desire for. It's fun. These are good things that God has given them the desire for. And so they need to be done, and they need to be celebrated. And with everything in this world, there is negatives that come with that. And so the next video we're going to watch is actually representative of that. Let me grab it really fast for us, and then we will get going. Share screen. Perfect. Okay. There you go.
Hi, we're going to activities are too many for your child. It's not like there's a set number. There's not a magic number that says a child this age should have this many and a child that age should have, this many. You have to think about your child's interests. You have to think about your child's temperament. And you also have to think about what's realistic for your family in terms of time, resources, money, energy, all of that. So sometimes is it who's having the extracurricular activities and who's stressed by them, you or your child? First thing is you want to see, are they activities that they're interested in, and how did you pick and choose? The child should be involved in deciding which ones, how many, and sometimes if there's too many. Then you're really looking for the stress on if there's too many. And you have to really listen and look at what's going on. So is it that there's too many? Or is it that they're stressed because they're having difficulty managing or balancing something? Is it that there's a problem with the activity itself? Is it that there's some kids on a team that aren't being nice? Is it that your child isn't getting to participate as much as they want to? Maybe it's a coach that just doesn't have the right style for your particular child. So again, it's not, are there too many, but it's what's causing the stress about all the extracurricular activities that you want to really problem solve together. So it's looking at, how does my child feel when they're going beforehand? How do they feel afterwards? Did they have a good time? That's different than just being tired or worn out. How is it interfering or enhancing the other things that they're doing in their life? If they're so involved with practicing the piano or going to practices for a sport that they're falling behind on their schoolwork, they may love the activity. You may be very committed to getting them there, but it means you need to do something else with your child to balance out the total impact on their life. And then you just want to look at how you just are all feeling about this particular schedule. And you always want to make sure that sometimes it's not, are there too many extracurricular activities, but is there enough free time, downtime, and just time to kick back and relax and, daydream, you and your child sometimes. And even the kids that are the most energetic need a little bit of that downtime to just recharge.
Perfect. I do recognize that was, I'm going to have this play if I'm not careful. Oh, sorry. Technical difficulties. I'm messing up everywhere. Okay. Perfect. Stop sharing that. There you go. Sorry, everybody. But we see that that was really from a perspective to parents for kids, and I think there's a lot of similarities that take place there and that are transferable to student ministry. But some things that I think of, some of the negatives that come with uh, extracurricular activities and our students is the first one is I think of is that their priorities begin to get all out of whack and um, they're out of order. And what we see is they begin to, I'm going to put all of them up there so I don't have to, is that our priorities get all out of whack. And we begin to see their extracurricular activity become an idol in their life. And that's something that is so common, especially in one of the biggest examples I see is, tournament baseball season is that's on the weekends. I have to go to my baseball tournament today and I'm not going to come to church. We see that parents will tell us, well, our kid's really good. He's really special. He's probably going to make it to the league. If we just practice on Sundays. And that's clearly not what God has for us. This extracurricular activities begin to take this place of over worship and over going to and worshiping the Lord on Sunday mornings. And so we clearly see that if we're not careful, we'll fall into that trap of allowing our priorities to get out of order. Secondly is time management. While this could be a positive, students learning time management, we see times there's students who bite off more than they can chew. It actually bleeds into the third one. If they get way too stressed out or they're giving 10% of themselves to 10 different things, we see the student set themselves up for failure if they are not correctly managing their time or if they're biting off more than they can chew. And lastly, the last one, and I'm not going to say most important one because idolatry is extremely important, but we see anxiety. We see anxiety begin to form just with the culture that they're in as we see this comparison game that is always happening. It doesn't matter which sport, which extracurricular activity it is. The goal is to be the best. And if you're not the best, you're the worst. And this is how students feel. They're constantly comparing themselves to the best version of other people. And this leads to anxiety. And so now all of a sudden, with these things, we take these things into account. We have this desire that these students have from the Lord for these extracurricular activities that God has made them specifically to like this one thing and that to glorify Him through it. But now it's a point of anxiety and it's a point of idolatry and a point of stress for them. And this is not what God intended for extracurricular activities or for the desires that we have. Instead, the desires that we would glorify Him in those and that we would find joy in them because He's given us those desires. And so that is my entire presentation. Thank you all for your time, and I'm looking forward to class.